The Spanish Announce Table.
Episode 405 of the Spanish Announce Table. And Tom, I can't be more, I don't want to say excited. It was a great week of wrestling most specifically with AEW Dynamite. But there's also some worrisome news that hangs over like a, you know what I mean? Like, what's the opposite of a silver lining to a dark cloud where there's like, everything's great except, man, this could suck?
That. Exactly that.
That's, you said it best, Tim.
You said it, nail right on the head. Hey, so
Hallmark should hire me.
One thing I want to address just right out of the gate, I probably sound just a tad bit different. I have a microphone issue. Any longtime listeners of this show knows that technical difficulties is a very close relative to ours. And so
the second name of the show.
I have a microphone. Yeah, basically. So the microphone is currently under construction, so I should have that resolved next week. So if this is something that hurts your ears, just know it's not going to be that way for the long term. But yes, there were a lot of things that happened in pro wrestling. AEW Dynamite was really great until it wasn't. We even had WWE have the Firefly Funhouse, which made no sense, but we'll get into that later. Tim, you want to talk about Dynamite from last night?
Yeah, I am excited to talk about AEW Dynamite last night.
Yeah. So one other thing that you might notice is we are recording on a Wednesday night. It is currently 7:51 in the One True time zone. That's typically when Dynamite would be on. And the reason was Dynamite was on Tuesday night, a special Tuesday night Dynamite episode, all title matches up and down the card, which was, you know, they have
Title Tuesday, damn it, as Taz said.
Yeah, Title Tuesday. I mean, but with as many titles as they have, that's kind of every episode. Yeah. But that's for another conversation. But we want to first just obviously address the elephant in the room, Hangman Adam Page. So the episode ended with, unfortunately, a bad circumstance. Hangman Adam Page suffered what was deemed a concussion in a statement from AEW. Hangman Adam Page also said he is doing fine now. He was discharged from the hospital. Tim, obviously, as they say, this isn't ballet, but how did you receive what happened towards the end of AEW Dynamite?
Man, that was worrisome because, right? Hangman is, as you said, this isn't a cowboy shit podcast right here. And if Hangman goes down and isn't moving, my heart isn't moving. You know what I mean? Like, my heart skipped a beat, as Hogan once said, right? And you felt the weight crashing down, and it hurts inside. All right, anyway. Not to make light of the Hangman situation. Obviously, we hope this means not as bad as we feared, because you discussed, as longtime listeners know, you had a neck injury from a similar fall. And we were worried like, that might mean no more wrestling. And now we find out, okay, could be just a concussion. But as you brought up to me off air, Adam Cole got a concussion and we haven't seen him since. So yeah, you never know, right? And prayers, thoughts, you know what I mean? GoFundMe's, whatever you want for Hangman, however you show your things. You can also show GoFundMe's to us on PayPal on our website, SpanishAnnounceTable.net. But that's the thing. Or you can cash app us like through Twitter and stuff, but that's fine. Spanish Announce Table. But Hangman, most importantly, send your support to the Hangman. And, I mean, AEW and Tony Khan feel like the place where Hangman will have a job and a home, but sometimes that still takes a toll mentally on a person if he can no longer wrestle. You know what I mean? Like that's a fear too. So I hope we see Hangman wrestling in as short, as healthily possible and he feels comfortable with and whatnot, because I need Hangman in my life. I don't know if I just say that, you know?
Well, Hangman is, you know, a lot of people like to say heart and soul of the company. You have a John Moxley, you have a Chris Jericho, you had a Kenny Omega, all of these types of talents that you could say that. But for me, the start of the promotion was Hangman challenging for the title, and then just this journey of his confidence going up and down, up and down, up and down. And then he wins the title. And now we're seeing kind of the second part of that story with the Trios Championships and Dark Order, and now going after this championship last night. So to me, the heart and soul of AEW is Hangman Adam Page. I understand, again, MJF, you could make an argument, but he's a different type of character. But the ultimate babyface in AEW is Hangman Adam Page. And so, yes, just like you said, we hope that he comes back as soon as possible when it is deemed appropriate. As mentioned, Adam Cole was the last one, at least that we're aware of, that got a concussion during a match. That was at the New Japan AEW Forbidden Door pay-per-view, which was several months ago. Credit to AEW for not rushing someone back. And also, you know, I have also been a critic of this, but one thing that came to my mind is this is why Tony Khan signed so many people, because again, it's not ballet. So when Hangman suffers this concussion, we still have people that we can rely on and maybe put into similar spots as Hangman Adam Page, a Ricky Starks, an Eddie Kingston, a Miro. You know, we have some people that aren't being featured right now that can step up. Speaks to the depth of the roster.
Miro.
Yes. Hey, I got Miro as my champion over here.
As much as I need Hangman in my life, I also need Miro in my life.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So yeah, that was the big incident. It felt like it was going to overshadow our recap, so we figured it might as well get it addressed on the front end. And so now let's talk about Dynamite. So Title Tuesday, as you mentioned, a special Tuesday night episode of AEW Dynamite kicked off with the AEW World Trios Championship, Death Triangle taking on Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends. This is how you start a party, Tim. What did you think?
I love the touch of Orange Cassidy. Doesn't like carrying things, so he brings the title in a backpack. And, of course, it's a one-arm sling, you know what I mean? Like he's lazily carrying the backpack at best. I love it. And then, of course, the match, as they even said on commentary, these guys know how to work together. They have been all over the world with this act in their various forms with each other, so they know where each other's going to be and what to do here. It is a little bit of the hold your hand, act like you're beat up while we set up our triple spinning over your ball sack plancha dive kind of stuff. So sometimes I'm like, all right, it's not exactly my style, but again, I don't think these guys overdo it as much as others. So, and they've got likable personalities all the way around. Pack,
Now, are you just speaking strictly are you speaking strictly about the Best Friends or all participants in this match?
Pretty much all the participants in that match, right? There's more focus on these spots than say they're still trying to tell a story. I don't even want to necessarily say that, but we're making sure we're getting the spot in, whether the timing was really good or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think these guys did an A+ job with what they did here.
And I agree with you. One thing I was thinking about, AEW does not run house shows. To the best of my knowledge, they've only done one, and it was in Jacksonville, but they still taped it. And whenever they get the network, their version of the network, we will see that show, which should be interesting. But they don't do house shows. But if they did, I always thought the backpack would be really fun because you don't even have to have the backpack or you don't even have to have the title in the backpack. Like if you were just doing house shows, you could just say, hey, we're going to have this for television shows, but I'll have it, for Poughkeepsie when we do a house show there. So I like that. The backpack is cool and it's original. Also, with this match, and this is where I want to get some of your feedback, we saw a little bit of dissension amongst Death Triangle. So as you've probably seen with Pac recently, he's been using the hammer that they use to ring the bell to get the victories. And in this match, he kind of says, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So let's do it again. And Rey Fenix stops him and essentially explains to him, like, you can do this. Like, you don't need the hammer. Just be Pac.
He simply explained it to him.
Yeah, he just, be Pac.
Listen, pal. Yeah.
And to Pac's credit, he took the advice, at least on the surface value. We'll see if this pays off later. And Death Triangle gets the victory. Now, when they did celebrate, it did look like Pac was giving Ray Phoenix a bit of the side eye. So my question to you is, when the time comes, whenever that is, Death Triangle splits up. One, do you think they do split up? Or do they just lose the titles and then try to regain them down the road? How do you think that Death Triangle loses the championships happens, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's interesting. It does feel like, what we're told to believe is, there's dissension. That means they're going to break up, right? That's coming. They don't plant those seeds without it coming. Now, may or may not that always be the case in AEW storylines. We still have some time. Still fairly new, 3 years. So maybe, but I don't see a reason you would. These folks operate independently. We've seen the Lucha Bros as a tag team without Pac hanging around, nowhere to be found, not even mentioned. And same thing with Pac. We've seen him wrestle without mention of where's his Death Triangle buddies, right? They can and do operate independently of each other. So unless they're trying to tell that specific story, I just don't know why you would try to tell that specific story. I don't know that I'm going to, I don't know. I mean, fine. It probably wouldn't be a bad story. Pac and the Lucha Bros suddenly are no longer a thing. Maybe you get some. Maybe Penta's like, nah, I want to use the hammer, and Ray's like, nah, maybe it's a swerve and we don't see it coming. Maybe there's 2 heels, and they leave Ray to go.
Well, that's the thing that's interesting. That's what I think is the most interesting thing about these trio championships is you can't rely on a lot of the classic tropes that wrestling has, where one guy turns on the other guy. Well, in a trios, that means what's the third guy going to do, right? Is he going to pull a Sammy Guevara and leave the group like he did with Inner Circle? Or does he side with one or the other? So that's what I'm most interested in, because obviously we know in time, Death Triangle will lose their trios championship. But with this kind of sprinkling of dissension, I wonder if we're going to break up the group, which would be interesting to me. So let's keep moving here. After the match, again, Death Triangle retains their trios championships. We get a quick backstage interview with Britt Baker. She and Jamie Hayter, they're saying, we're going to be champ. Cool. And then we get into the AEW Interim Women's World Championship match. Champion Toni Storm versus challenger Hikaru Shida. And Tim, I want to point out, this is the second match of the night. What are we doing?
I know. This is not time for the women. This is normally the women are at 8:30 on the dot. Yeah, I was surprised by that, as you've already alluded to, that the women were already, typically the trope is AEW's women go on right before the main event. Well, that didn't happen here, and they put on a good match. I mean, this was, they slapped each other around. They did all the wrestling moves. The battle was, here's 2 friends just going for a championship. I think we understood that story. So there was a lot of heart and determination and respect towards each other. It was fun.
German
right?
suplexes. And German suplexes. There was a ton of German suplexes, which, hey,
so many
it's
Germans.
A good move to rely on. Yeah. It's a good move to rely on, right? If you're going to be like, well, what do I do? Do a German suplex. Everyone will like it.
Yeah, everybody loves a German
Toni
suplex.
Storm retains. Everyone loves a German suplex. Toni Storm retains here. And after the match, Jamie Hayter and Rebel attack Toni Storm. And then Britt Baker, because we were in Cincinnati, comes out wearing a Steelers jersey. For any international listeners, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals in the National Football League are rivals. So she was doing it to get cheap heat. It worked. They booed the shit out of her.
Of course.
But she comes down.
I want to boo her wearing
and she's stomping away on Toni Storm. And then here comes Saraya. And Saraya, to kind of what you've been saying, got a dud of a pop. Kind of was like, now it could be 2 things. It could be 1, we don't know her music. So when it hits, everyone's like, what's that? And by the time she's doing it, it's like, well, I'm not going to cheer now. I'm already
running down the ramp. Yeah.
Yeah. Or 2, and I hope it's not the latter, is maybe she's not over. Because I bring that up because she grabs Britt Baker. They go feuding into the crowd, not to be seen again for the rest of the night. But then out of nowhere, the first ever women's world heavyweight champion, or I guess women's champion, because she's not heavyweight. Rio comes out. All 96 pounds of Rio runs down, and she does a dive on Jamie Hayter, and she's da-da-da-da-da. What do you think of Rio coming back? All of this stuff.
I just, notwithstanding the things we've talked about, where, there's not an attempt to body shame, but it is hard to not make it appear like a pre-adolescent girl is going out there beating these people up. You know what I mean? Like, she is very small. So, and that's fine, right? We've told the small person comes out, is lightning
Rey
quick,
Mysterio.
gets in some kicks, right? Fine. But with Riho, again, there is a language barrier. I'm not saying she's less of a performer because there's a language barrier, but there is a language barrier, and so we're not telling a story with Rio other than she came in and bounced around the ring and kicks people in the face, which could have been any singular person, right? So I guess I'm just kind of okay, well, that happened, right? Which is fine. Some things just happen. Rio happened, but it's definitely not making me be I got to tune in next week, because now, how many more people need to be in this storyline? What are we doing? Are we doing some kind of women's war games coming up or something? Or why? Why so many?
Well,
why so many?
What I think is Saraya and Britt Baker are going to have a match at Full Gear. So we're kind of separating them from this story. It's going to be those two battle of the bitches or whatever
Real
they
quick,
want to call it.
Another reason why Saraya gets that mild pop is because, she might be over, but not Britt Baker over in AEW.
Right.
Britt Baker is
agree.
one of the top 3 of all the pops in AEW.
Mm-hmm. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so I think they're going to go there, and they're going to have their match. So they're going to be separated from Toni Storm in the championship for the short-term period. I think Toni Storm doesn't necessarily have the feud built in as this interim world champion. I think we're buying time until Thunder Rosa gets healthy. So I think what we're doing is, if you recall, Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm had a match together. Well, now she took on Hikaru Shida. Rio comes in to help out Toni Storm. So I'm assuming next week we get Toni Storm versus Rio. So we're just doing this thing where it's if you touch the champion, you get a title match. And so now it's Rio's turn. Now to Rio, I totally agree with you as far as physically, she's not impressive. She looks tiny. I think the thing that hurts her the most, though, is because I brought up Rey Mysterio is also, when he was 1997 WCW, one of the smallest people in wrestling history, right? To be on national television. You get what I'm saying? I think what hurts her, though, is her moveset is like anyone else. Where Rey Mysterio, when he's wrestling Big Show or Kurt Angle or Edge or whoever it was this bing, 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 bing. And you're like, well, shit, man. No wonder he's winning, because he's hitting them and they can't even see it. With Rio, she kind of just wrestles the standard match, which I understand. It's difficult to, in 2022, with all the wrestling we've seen, to find a new move. But I just think her moveset doesn't lend anything to her being, some type of challenger or champion. I think that's why one of her championship runs, the original one, didn't necessarily do that well. It's because, again, she didn't distinguish herself after being such a kind of small champion.
Right, yeah, I mean, so, I agree with that. Yeah. You said it best.
All right. Yeah, your camera's a little blurry.
I don't know why that's going on. I'm trying to fix that on the side. So you talk while I try to fix that. I don't know.
All right, there we go. So I'll just talk. You answer. So we get backstage, and we go to the back, and it's Renee Paquette, and she's interviewing FTR, and FTR is saying, "Hey, we got the AAA, we got the New Japan, we got the Ring of Honor, but the number one championship we want." We won our AEW championships back. We're the number one contenders. It's been 17 years. We're going after them. Give us our AEW tag team championships.
Give me what I want.
And
I need Batista. I need the Batista sound.
And before they necessarily get their rah-rah moment, Swerve in Our Glory comes in. And Swerve in Our Glory, well, first off, Swerve really just says, "Oh, what are you talking about? You've been this. You kind of suck." And running them down. And Keith Lee says, would you stop? To Swerve, not saying anything yet to FTR. He says, Swerve, would you cut the shit? Then Keith Lee goes on to say, yes, we would like our rematch, but we understand you're the number one contender, so why don't the four of us in a tag team match figure out who the number one contender is? What do you think of FTR versus Swerve in Our Glory? Because this seems fun.
Yeah. I think this will be fun. I think the match will be good. You were asking what's up with Keith Lee and Swerve, and I think, it's still there. They're clearly playing into that because Swerve was very much annoying Keith Lee, right? And they left not on the same page, not understanding each other. So at some point we're going to get it. At some point we're going to get the separation here. And I think that would be a good feud to even take those two, put them on a good spot on the card, right? Swerve versus Keith Lee.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then elevate FTR. FTR and the Acclaimed, if that's where we're going, I don't even know how to compute that. Like, I don't even know how to comprehend an FTR Acclaimed
feud.
Who do I root for? Where the Acclaimed, but where the Acclaimed are the baby faces. I can get it if you have FTR as the baby faces, Acclaim runs them down, but I don't even, what? Like, that's going to be crazy. So we'll see if that happens. One other quick note before we move on. I've always said on this podcast, Swerve Strickland is the coolest guy in pro wrestling. And I still believe that. However, kind of looked like a schmuck when he walked in and he's still eating peanuts and he hadn't chewed fully his peanuts before he started talking. Like, I get it. We're in AEW. We don't kind of button up like WWE. And I like that. But that one should have been like a, hey, if this isn't live, can we redo that? Because that looked like shit, right? That's all I'll say. Hopefully that's playing into the character of him being unprofessional, him being nonchalant, not caring about really anyone else's feelings. Maybe, I don't know. But that rubbed me the wrong way where I was like, dude, finish your food before you walk in, jerk. But maybe that's what he wanted me to say.
Maybe.
Then we get back. So after that, it looks like, again, FTR versus Swerve in Our Glory for the number one contendership. Definitely love it. After that, though, we get another face-to-face backstage interview, and it's Darby Allin and Jay Lethal. And Tim, I said this on our Twitter at Table Show while I live tweeted during AEW Dynamite. I get so scared with backstage segments and Darby Allin, because I feel like Darby Allin twists the arm of whoever he's doing the backstage segment with, hey, throw me off the building. It's fine. And I just get so scared. And in this one, it wasn't necessarily the worst thing in the world, but an elevated door or elevator door coming down on your abdomen.
Yeah, like a garage door, like at a warehouse. You see the middle ones. To me, for one, I'm like, you guys had to dismantle the safety thing that doesn't let that close down on something. I'm assuming there was something there. And yeah, like, how did we know we stopped this in time that it wasn't squishing them? And maybe they worked that
out. But I think Darby Allin likes it.
But it was a great spot. It's something I haven't seen, right? They put him on the thing and he's like, hey, watch this. And he goes around the other side and just starts giving the figure four. What's he going to do about it? Can't turn it over now, right? So love that. It was fine. I thought this was good. I like he called him a trash panda. Fine. Yeah, this was fun. Yeah. Again, like, this will be a good match, right? Whatever comes out of this. And it is interesting. Who are they referencing when they say one of your close friends, close personal friend, or one of our close personal friends that knows you very well or something, told us what your weakness is. And now we know it. We know it.
Sting?
Is it Sting? Oh, that would be so great if it was Sting, but it's not going to be Sting, right?
No. Who would it be? Let's think.
Yeah, Sting's not turning heel for like Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt, right? Like, it would be for like somebody like a Darby Allin up and coming, right?
Yeah, and also they have Satnam Singh, the 7'4" monster, so it's not like they need to add more people to the group.
That might get Darby Allin super over if him and Sting turn heel. Like, if he starts turning heel and Sting's trying to convince him otherwise, and then out of nowhere we get a whap, Sting's giving somebody the Kansas City cunt punt.
I love it.
Talk about being all over the news.
I would say maybe it wasn't an actual friend. Maybe that was said in sarcasm, and it's good old Brody King who's like, oh, remember when I choked him out and threw him on the floor? That's what you do to beat him. Jay Lethal's like, oh, okay, great. Choker or choke slam
Just
or
be
whatever.
twice the size and fucking
yeah,
up.
and just be twice the size and hold him up with a rear naked choke. That sounds great. Yeah, so this is going to be fine. Jay Lethal, to me, we met him. Very pleasant guy. Satnam Singh was also very pleasant. But Jay Lethal, to me, just screams dead-end promo. Like, it's the last thing you do before you say, I don't have anything else to do. You know? I like Jay Lethal, but I don't know, right? I mean, he's lost to Samoa Joe. He doesn't really win a ton, so, like, I'm supposed to think he's going to take out one of the pillars of AEW and Darby Allin, and he already lost to him once. So, yeah, something has to happen. Sting turning heel would make this, give it some juice, and then turn me back into being interested. But right now, And Darby, stop going backstage. Just do all your stuff in ring and get out. I don't want to see a death on TV. So
you're right.
Tim, we got the best segment of the night after the Darby Allin Jay Lethal backstage promo. We get William Regal in the ring. And William Regal is talking to Tony Schiavone. And before he even really gets to say anything, MJF comes out. And MJF interrupts him. And Christ almighty, Tim, we got another benchmark of the MJF promo. You know, we got the origin story from how CM Punk broke his heart. Now we're getting the motivation where William Regal apparently, and I'm going to paraphrase because MJF said it way better than me and I don't want to quote him, but paraphrasing, MJF essentially said, hey, remember that time when I got to try out in WWE and you liked me and I thought this was my chance, and then you said I was too young, but keep in touch, and then after a few months you said stop? Yeah, that's what's motivating me to be MJF. So first, before we get into William Regal's side of the story, what did you think of the MJF promo?
I thought, hold on one second. Let me get back over here. Something's wrong with my stuff here. Technical difficulties, as we discussed. Why not? Yep. All right, so, yes, sorry about that. Yes, MJF's side was amazing. We get these MJF promos every once in a while where you feel like he's been waiting for the grand stage to give this promo. Like, I have to believe that this kind of went down that way anymore. You know what I mean? He's either so good as an actor that he's not long for the wrestling world because he'll be in movies, or there's a lot of truth to this. And I loved it. I thought it was really good.
I think there is truth to it. I don't think that what he said was a made-up situation in WWE. Obviously, we've seen him as an extra in WWE when Samoa Joe punked him and said, get back, and so I'm in front, right? So he's worked in WWE. We know that, right?
Yeah.
I just think, and this is my own opinion, is he takes that situation and then he says, hey, remember we kind of lost contact? And I think possibly the letter of stop talking to me, that might be the fabrication, right? That might be the lie that gets us to that's what drove me to be MJF. But I think everything else is truth. Again, that's just a hunch. Maybe it's all true. Maybe it's all a lie. I don't know. But it feels real. And that's the best part of it. And that's all I care about. I don't even need authenticity. I don't need someone to fact check and go, hey, guess what? Here's the letter I found. I don't. Just entertain me. And this entertained the hell out of me. Now, let's flip to the other side. Throughout the entire time that MJF is giving this heartfelt speech to William Regal, Regal has a smirk on his face the entire time. Just almost like smug. Like, yeah, of course you're saying this, you dumb shit. You know how many times I've heard this? You know how many fucking people have told me that I was the motivation to keep them wrestling? And you know what they're doing? Fucking nothing. That's what it felt like to me. But what William Regal starts off with, and he starts to get booed. So the crowd cheers MJF. Regal, I thought, was really the MVP here because he did not get flustered. So he starts to speak and he's getting booed. Boo. And son of a bitch, Tim, by the end of it, they're cheering him too. Like, so what he says is, when I was 16 years old, wrestling the independent circuit in England, I was going to bed with broken noses and blood coming out of my eyes and getting the shit kicked out of me by adult men. And I had to earn the respect to get to where I am today. So if a letter is what got you to this point, you had it fucking easy. And isn't that the truth? Right?
I mean, yeah, I think that's kind of what he's like. Listen here, millennial. It's basically what he said.
But here's the awesome thing, and again, why we love AEW so much, at least in my opinion, is both guys are true. Both guys are telling the truth and are valid in their reasons. It's not like if I went to talk to MJF and me and him were friends and he told me that, I'd be like, fuck Regal.
This is
and then
a
on the
great
other
point
side,
to dive into a little bit before we continue here. There's a lot of talk of this, like, people are picking sides and people are WWE marks and AEW homers and these kind of things, right? The reason we are fans of AEW and not so much WWE is this, that the WWE is geared for the people who want the traditional Saturday morning cartoon hero to come in and just, I'm strong, nobody can beat me, punch you in the face. And then they do simplistic heel things here. We get real life emotions out of these characters. This is just not what we get in WWE. That's why we're huge fans of AEW. Is WWE's written for the hero, right? It's like written for the hero lover. This is for the villain, right? Like, we're seeing the villain story unfold left and right here more often than not in AEW. And even on the hero side, we get this like real man struggle, like with Hangman and things you can identify with, right?
Eddie Kingston,
If I can put it in Batman terms, like some Batman is written for the people who like the Batman and some Batman is written for the people who like the Joker. You know what I mean? You get these kind of different movies and different, yeah, look, you're going to call me a comic book nerd? Is that what you're going to?
Yeah, who's a nerd now?
Yeah,
nerd.
Nerd. I'm trying to put it into references these guys can understand, and that's the only comic book guy I know.
Now, what I will say is...
But I'm right.
You are right. Before we get back on track with AEW Dynamite, what I will say is WWE is trying a little bit. The Sami Zayn is interesting. It has its layers. But again, that's
not all bad. We've got some to talk about. I will talk about it. Yep.
Well, but that's also not origin stories or motivations. It's more just frustrations and bumping into it. So it's a little bit different. Going back to this, William Regal then cuts him down and says, like, you can do it the right way. You don't have to, because he brings up pushing Tony Schiavone. He's like, hey, if you want to, I love the line where he said, these brass knuckles, the only reason I used them is because I liked it. I didn't need it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And so I
just like hitting people with it.
Yeah, I like the line that's drawn in the sand with William Regal where he says, yes, we're both villains in this ring, but the way I do my business is the right way and the respectable way, because everyone back there will say it. The way you're doing with pushing Tony Schiavone is crossing the line.
I even like how he's like, look, I was insulting Tony Schiavone before you were born. Like, that's fine, but like, you don't put your hands on Mr. Schiavone.
Exactly. Right. You know what it feels like almost to me? Here's the analogy that just came to my mind. And again, both people in this story are telling the truth and have a valid reason. But it reminds me of like when the 1950 gangsters that wear the suits and say we have a code of honor bumps into the street gangsters who, will do the drive-by and like any means necessary kind of stuff. And it's like, they both suck, right? Like both of them are bad. One just says, you don't kill people in a church or something, where the other guy, the, street gangster or whatever you want to call him, is like, no, I'll shoot him in his bed. I don't give a shit. Fuck that guy, And so that's kind of what it felt like to me, is where this old school way of being a villain needs to be respected.
Yeah, I like how he's almost like just trying to convert him and like be a villain, but don't be a dickhead. Like, Joe, like, come on, man. Fucking
So
what Schiavone do to you?
So the promo ends with,
by the
William
way,
Regal
I think I'm labeling Tony Schiavone as the wholesome stepdad of pro wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't hit that guy.
Okay. You want to get back to the. So William Regal is standing there, and he turns his back to him, and he says, "Take a shot. Hit me if you want." And MJF looks, and he even kind of gets the ring on his finger, and he rears back, and he's gonna, and he doesn't, and he walks out and storms off. Now, I'm going to jump out of chronological order. Let's talk again about that main event. So, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Hangman had the unfortunate injury. I don't know what the plan was, but it didn't feel like it was this. But Moxley, with the time remaining, grabs the microphone and calls out MJF. MJF, come out here. You know, I'm not even done fighting. I have barely broke a sweat. Come out here, you bitch. You know. And MJF does come out, and he has the referee, and he has the chip, and he gets in there, and he takes his shirt off, and he's ready, but he's still in street clothes, right? Because he didn't get dressed. And he's rearing back again, and he's going to fight Moxley, and then he rolls out. And then he grabs the chip, and he shoves it into William Regal's chest and says, "You keep it." Gets on the microphone and says, "I'm cashing that in at Full Gear because now I'm going to do it the right way. I'm going to earn it." What a story. Before this, none of this came to my mind. And now it's the most interesting thing with William Regal and MJF. It's outstanding.
Yeah, my worry here is the best story to tell now is Full Gear arrives. MJF's going to do it the right way. He's even getting a little bit of a pep talk from William Regal during the show, right, backstage. And we see MJF having this kind of like, I get it, right? Ordinary, whatever they call decent villain, right? Like do things the right way. He gets hit with the brass knucks by William Regal in this main event, and Jon Moxley wins, and they walk out of there holding hand, and now MJF's looking the sucker.
That would definitely be on brand for the MJF Jon Moxley story. Because if you run it back and go back to 2020 during the pandemic and they had their feud, MJF was doing the MJF in 2020 political stuff. But what he got in the match was, you can't do the paradigm shift, John. Okay? Like, I'll fight you, but you're not doing that move. John agrees, right? But in that match, the referee being distracted or being hurt, I don't remember what the circumstances were, but Jon Moxley hits that paradigm shift and beats MJF. So if that does happen, I mean, that just drives MJF even crazier. But I think he directs his attention now to Jon Moxley, where he's like, so now every fucking time I face you, you have to go to the lowest common denominator.
And just the backstabbing from William Regal. Here he thought he was having this moment, and then all of it was a ruse, and he's like, yeah, sunshine, step up your game. Mm-hmm. That's what I told you in the email. When you become a star, come back and see me. That'd be great. Theo in the chat, by the way, referencing the Batman, he said, as long as we don't get any more Batman Forever bat nipples. So, I mean, you know, if you don't like nipples, that's your thing. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Some people love it.
Yeah, some people love nipples.
Speaking of, as we continue this really promo-heavy,
very
heavy AEW Dynamite.
Heavy.
Yeah, but we continue it with another backstage interview. This one looked to be pre-taped because Renee Young is sitting down with Bryan Danielson and Wheeler Yuta. And Danielson's like, yeah, I should have seen it coming, but, you know, it's Daniel Garcia. And I think Daniel Garcia could be the best one here. And Yuta just looks at him and is like, bro, who the fuck are you? Like, Claudio sees it. Moxley sees it. Regal sees it. The fuck are you doing? Falling for Daniel Garcia's trick, like, you dumbass. And then just leaves him. So what happens here? Are we seeing the BCC breakup?
I don't know, but I like that we get these bouts of subtlety, right? It's not necessarily a breakup, but we see that friendships are hard, right? You don't always get along. Partnerships are not easy. It takes work of whatever kind they are. And also, as a side caveat, Renee Paquette being here makes this all the better too, because she's just so much more realistic in her interview style, right? The whole, hey, I can't help but notice, like she felt like a counselor in the room, right? Like just knew how to guide the conversation. And yes, I like that he's like, hey, best wrestler, bro, I'm your fucking student. Like, you're a dick. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What am I here for? If you're gonna like publicly just act like I'm your second favorite kid, you motherfucker. So, I mean, I think that's what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but you know, he's right. He's right. They're both right. Well, this is kind of what we said. They're both right.
Well, because the other side of this coin is, you know, you meet your mentor, but that doesn't mean your mentor
thinks you're the prodigy.
Is your friend.
Right.
Yeah, it just means, hey, yeah, I'll take this project on. I see a lot of potential. But, I mean, take sports references, for example, right? I bet that the Las Vegas Raiders really think that Derek Carr is a good quarterback and could potentially take them on a playoff run.
Kind of like how the Broncos
you know who their favorite
Russell Wilson.
Well, but you know who their favorite quarterback is?
Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
And so Derek Carr might look to him, the coach or whoever it is, and be like, hey, man, I'm your guy. And they'll say, like, yeah. But,
you're a guy. But if we had a chance to trade for Patrick Mahomes, we would do it in a second. And he'd say that on TV.
Yeah, and so that's what this feels like, where Bryan Danielson is telling, essentially, he told this to Renee. He didn't really direct it towards Yuta, but just says, hey, if I get the chance to get Daniel Garcia, absolutely. And Yuta was like, I thought you selected me and only me. And that's where, I don't know, because where does Claudio come in? Where does Jon Moxley come in? What's William Regal's role in all of this? Very interesting stuff.
Yeah. I'd like to shout out the chat real quick. Ramones fan 990 with the 3 horns says, just got off work. No better time to have you guys on in the car. Ha 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 ha. Ha ha. Completely agree. Friendship is important. Thanks, lad. Love the show. And friendship is important. This is what I said in the chat earlier. Like, come chat. Be our wrestling friends. Be wrestling friends with each other. We all need friends right now. The world sucks. We need wrestling friends, so we're glad you're here, Ramones fan, Theo. We even had a Landon Wilkinson in the chat earlier. Shout out to that guy. So just, hang out. Be our wrestling friends. Talk to us. Anyway, Tom, you were saying.
Definitely.
Sorry.
Let's get back on track here.
Yeah.
Now we get into the ROH World Championship match, and I'm just going to say it right now. I love the Acclaimed. Their entrance is must-see TV. The rap that Max Caster does is something is appointment television. But I think the coolest entrance is Dalton Castle.
Dalton Castle.
This shit was so much fun.
I know we have talked shit on the whole, like, why do we keep having ROH guys on TV? And why don't they just have their own show? I forgot all about that shit when Dalton Castle came out. I was like, okay, we need more of this guy on my TV. He's so fun. So fun. Everything.
He was awesome.
Everything. It's all these, like, it's when you have so many things, right? So he's got the look, he's got the boys, he's got the phrases, he's got the menu. Like, there's just so much completeness to this package and character that is unmatched, and it is so different from anybody else. How can you not love Dalton Castle?
Yeah, it's amazing. I just love the entire presentation, because even when we get to the match, so Chris Jericho comes out with Jake Hager. Jake Hager still wearing the hat. But when we get to the match, it's not as if Dalton Castle... Yeah, well, we'll get to that. But it's not as if Dalton Castle, when Jericho got into the ring, did the, like prancing around his oh no, like the Genius from the 1980s, like, oh no, don't hit me, right? It was like, hey, you want to shake hands? Guess what I got for you? Oh, dick, fuck you. And that is what, again, like you're talking about, layers, is it's not just, this feminine wrestler who just has boys and wants to be fanned. It's like, yeah, he likes to be fanned. Yeah, he has boys, but guess what? He'll grab his dick and then flip you off if he doesn't like you, because he's a powerful peacock. He's a powerful peacock who flips people off with his dick first.
Gets a handful of dick and then flips you off with it. A handful of dick smell. I loved it. Well, yes, and as they said, he wrestled a good match, right? Like, wrestled a good match. They reference his toughness, wrestling with a broken back, which is not advised.
Mm-hmm.
Careful, calm it down.
No.
But, but again, the whole package is so unique that it's so unique, but you also get it immediately, right? You don't need any explanation. I could show anybody that, and they get what's going on with Dalton Castle. And they're probably like, that guy's fun. I like this guy.
He's awesome. Definitely the breakout star, in my opinion, of the episode for sure. Also, though, throughout this match, we did get a boys and Jake Hager segment where the boys took Jake Hager's hat. Jake
so he's
Hager
getting beat down. He loses the hat. And as he's getting beat down, he makes sure he puts the hat back on, right? And then they steal the hat again. And that's what makes him be like, don't touch my hat. And he grabs the nearest guy and yeets him off to the side, grabs the next guy. Loved it. Again, more of this with Hager, right? Just stupid little idioms.
Less is more.
And all of a sudden, he's going to be one of our favorites. Like, it won't take much.
No, easy. Okay.
Maybe not one of our favorites, but like one of our favorite, I'll say, spots in the show.
I will only go as far, Tim, as saying I'll liken it
to, remember when we go, Sean Spears just fucking hit a guy with a chair, right? That kind of a spot. One of our, like, thumbs up moments.
Yeah. No. Yes, I agree.
I like the negotiations where we're bringing this down.
Yeah. I like your sentiment, and I agree with what you're saying. But
I disagree completely.
Well, no, I will only agree to not liking him. I will only agree to going to not liking him. I will not go into the or amuse or anything. Fuck him.
I like the hat. I like the hat.
I like the hat. I like the hat. The bucket hat I'll like, not Jake Hager. But Chris Jericho gets the victory. And then after the match, Chris Jericho, after he retains the championship, gets up to the stage, gets on the microphone with the rest of the JAS, and he says, hey, I'm still taking people out. And guess whose turn it is this week? The commentator. And they go and grab, I don't remember his name. I like his work. He's very good. Ian something? I don't fact check.
No, he's really good. I do like him too
he's very good.
I like him. Yes.
But they grab him, but before they could even give him a Judas effect or whatever they're going to do, Jerry Lynn walks out and was like, Jericho, my guy. I get it. The announcer one time, like, let's let that one slide. But this, like, what the fuck are you doing? And Jericho says, oh, that's cool. I'll just take you out. How about that? Whop. And gives him a tombstone on the ROH championship belt. Now, here's the interesting point about that. As Chris Jericho has said, he's taking out all of the available Ring of Honor champions. Well, Jerry Lynn can't wrestle, to the best of my knowledge. At least that's what's been stated in the past. But he's also a former ROH heavyweight champion. So here he goes, taking out another ROH champion in Jerry Lynn. So it checks that box, and it's dastardly. Kind of like what we're talking about with Regal and don't go after Tony Schiavone. Don't go after the agents here. One
of my favorite spots of this match, too, was Tony Schiavone's like, if I can just say something, he's like, Chris Jericho said, like, he's trying to like ruin and destroy the legacy and everything in the name of what Ring of Honor was built on. And Taz is like, well, so what? That's okay. It's like, yeah, Taz. He's like, come on, why do you guys give a shit? It's great. Loved it.
Well, one other thing that I made note of, but I didn't think it was too much of a talking point, but I will bring it up. Chris Jericho won clean. There was no shenanigans here.
And they talked about
a code of honor.
Yeah, that's what they said at the end. Like, he said, what he didn't do? And they said he didn't cheat. He said he didn't cheat. He said whether he intended to or not, he upheld the code of honor.
And he started the match with the handshake. So are we going to see him work himself into a shoot and be like, I love the honor. The honor is the way to go. Like,
again, this is the way AEW tells stories, where it's that kind of like ever-changing personality. We see during the course of an event, usually both combatants, if we're doing a traditional one-on-one, change a little bit after each of these major stories, and I like it.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see the fallout from Jerry Lynn getting tombstoned on the championship, but as we continue the show, backstage, Jade Cargill is pissed.
Yeah, wouldn't you be?
The baddies can't find her title. Nyla Rose is still killing it on Twitter. If you need someone to follow on Twitter,
Yeah.
follow Nyla Rose.
Yeah.
She is A+ material every single day.
Yeah, this is one of the funnest she has been too in this, like doing this thing with the title. And yeah.
Absolutely awesome. Nyla Rose kills it. But she still has the TBS championship. So then Jade Cargill looks into the camera, and says, "Hey, Tony, I want my title back. If you don't get it to me, or Nyla doesn't get it to me, I'll waste 60 minutes of your goddamn show, because I'm that bitch." So that brings up the question, we always do, it's time for the women.
Yeah.
But are we going to... Is Tony Khan watching our show and got offended that we have a catchphrase and now is putting the women in different spots? Because I would guess on watching Rampage, but Jade Cargill will start off the episode.
I suggested MJF do something with William Regal. I suggested, Tony Khan's watching. Tony Khan's watching. We know what's up. Hey, Tony. What's up, man? Are you Ramones fan 990, Tony?
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, come on.
Give me a chance.
Come on.
I can write anything that you need.
Ramones, we found Tony Khan's burner account.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
So, yeah. And then what was next is, again, what we talked about already, the AEW World Championship match, Moxley versus Hangman. We talked about kind of what happened, but I will say that match was incredible. It started off great. Hangman runs to Moxley, doesn't even allow him to get into the ring, does the backflip off of one of the entrances. I mean, this had the makings of a classic. Unfortunately, it was cut short. So very curious to see what happens moving forward with all parties.
I mean, and we'll probably never know this, but where do you think this was going? Do you think Moxley was going to win and we were still going to get this MJF with Regal at the end? Because that feels like it fits, right? We had Regal earlier saying, do this, do that, and like he's tied to Moxley. So I feel like somehow Moxley was still going to win this. So maybe they just were like, get out there and say something for a while and then do the spot, right? Like we need to fill 5 minutes or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, all we can do is guess on that. But
yeah, I would be curious to know what was the finish. I would suspect, because one thing that happened before the unfortunate incident with Hangman was MJF was up in the suite, and then they went back to showing him in the suite, and he was gone. So I think, again, we don't know, but my gut was telling me, oh shit, this is what I'll tell you what I thought was going to happen. Again, we'll never know unless Tony Khan does an interview and says, here's the paper. It's right here. But I think Moxley and Hangman are just absolutely killing each other, doing all the crazy moves, right? MJF walks out with the referee and the chip. And as he goes to I'm going to cash in right now during the match, Regal gives him the look like, really? And then he backs off. Someone gets their finisher reversal. Moxley wins. And then I think we would have got MJF saying to the crowd and to us, I'm doing it the right way. Fuck you, Regal, you piece of shit. Why are you in my head? And then walks away. That's what I think. But again, we'll never know. But that's what I thought we were doing.
Yeah, that might have worked. Ramones fan 990 / Tony Khan in the chat said, I'm definitely Tony, just trying to clear my name from that Ariel interview, which we got a lot of views on that very quick brief discussion we had on that Ariel. A lot of people called us AEW marks. Fuck those people. I mean, we love AEW. We're not going to lie about that, but you know what I mean? Whatever. Yeah, it's the better show. But
I don't understand.
like why would you hate it? But he does say in all, jesting aside, he says TK definitely needs to tune into you guys and taking notes. Thanks, guys. I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, so that was AEW Dynamite. Let's talk about that then. Are you caught up on the Ariel Tony Khan interview?
I mean, as much as I think I need to be. The whole thing with me is people that got mad were like, oh, look at these AEW marks to us. The whole thing is you have probably seen every Ariel Helwani interview ever, if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. I mean, I may not be wrong. I'm one of his founding members on Substack. I do a once a quarter meeting with him on Zoom. Yeah. I know him pretty well. So you were talking kind of directly to Ariel in that regard of saying like, if anybody couldn't tell the sour grapes, what I likened it to was he sounded butthurt to me that Tony Khan didn't find him important enough to break the advice of his legal team in an ongoing legal issue. I don't know. You know, I'm sure they could have signed every single document they needed to, and the legal issue is no longer ongoing. But part of it was probably nobody's ever speaking of this again. But it's probably not even that. It's probably still ongoing. And as of right now, you don't speak of it because it could be used against us in our ongoing legal battle. And if anybody doesn't understand that, that's what they're lying about. Not what Ariel Helwani's saying, like, if anybody says they like AEW better than WWE, they're lying. I'm not lying. I said earlier why it's a better product than WWE, because it's not made for fucking children. So, like, it's fine. Like, kids are fine, right? Like, watch the WWE, that's fine. But, like, I also like the subtleties that we get in these storylines, like we're talking about. I saw Road Dogg said AEW things don't connect and they don't, like, make sense. I'm like, you watch your own fucking product. I'm like, none of that shit connects and makes sense. Yeah, go look for that. So, like, to me, it's just, you were mad he didn't give you the scoop. I don't know how you book your interviews, but if you would have told him ahead of time and gave him a thing saying, hey, we're going to ask you this question, this question, this question, I'm sure they would have said, well, we're not going to answer this question, this question, this question, this question. So, like, to me, you kind of bum rush him with questions he couldn't answer. And he very respectfully said, I can't answer that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, ongoing legal issue. But the things he did dive into was more of, like, history of AEW, some of the matches, some of the decisions he made on why this or why that. The only ones he didn't dive into were ones that are most likely tied into an ongoing legal battle. So, like, no, Ariel Helwani, you're just not that important to Tony Khan.
Well, and also, you do understand Ariel's position, right? He is the one that typically will have the headline news article in the MMA space. Sometimes in WWE, in pro wrestling, there have been WWE headlines off of Ariel Helwani interviews. So I can understand how Ariel Helwani's like, all right, first time talking to Tony Khan, let's start it off with a bang. Let's get him to say X, right? We're going to get X accomplished in this interview. And it didn't happen. So as he mentioned, it can be frustrating. My biggest issue was not necessarily anything of his answer. Because to give context, the way this came about is every Wednesday you can ask questions to Ariel Helwani. The best 20 or so get picked. This one got picked. He answered, what's been your most frustrating interview? He said Tony Khan, right? All of that is fine. I think the frustrating part is...
So he didn't go out of his way to say Tony Khan sucks.
He did not go out of his way. He's like, hey, guess what, guys? If you saw that interview, it fucking sucked. He did nothing of that sort. I think where the backlash came on him was, yes, you were probably frustrated that you didn't get the headline. However, you had the opportunity to get a huge headline with Triple H, and they were mostly softballs. So I don't know how you can be upset and frustrated with Tony Khan when you pressed him, but when with your Triple H, you don't press him. You know what I mean? The tone of the two interviews were different. Mm-hmm. One interview was, give me information. The other one was, WWE, now you're in control.
Well, there's that. So, like, he even addressed it. And so I think part of this whole conversation that Ariel Helwani is having post-interview is still stemming from, it was clear Ariel Helwani was under some impression that Tony Khan didn't like him for some reason. He couldn't figure out why. Yeah. He was like, why is that guy bugging? So when they booked the interview, he's probably like, oh, well, I might try to ask him this question. And he did ask him. And Tony was like, no, man, that's not a thing. Like, totally sorry if that was, even was kind of like, I didn't intend that. I never meant to say that about Nick Khan or anything or like that. Like, that's not what I meant, right? Like, sorry, bro, which, you know, people will believe or not believe, right? I don't know anything about Tony Khan. I don't know if he's a liar or anything to people he knows, that kind of thing. But with Ariel Helwani, it was just, it felt that. There was a little bit of that tension. And then it almost felt like things were a little lighter after that, right? Like that he kind of got that out of the way. But to me, like, I think what Ariel Helwani might be missing is like, I enjoyed that conversation a lot. I thought it was a cool conversation that I don't get to see from Tony Khan a lot. And you brought me that, right? I was like, I should watch more of these Ariel Helwani interviews, right?
They're good.
But now you're telling me like, no, this was supposed to be transactional and he should have known I was going to ask these questions and I didn't even want to have this conversation otherwise. well, then, like, I guess we shouldn't have done it. You know what I mean? Like, maybe then I would have never watched. So, like, it's just that kind of, I don't know. It just felt like it was like, man, why did you begrudgingly do this interview then?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, well, who knows?
But
Hey,
we can
by
get
the way,
into, yeah.
we have some tweet the tables.
We do have some tweet the tables. Oh yeah, because we're not too far removed. I know of one that I brought, unless there's a second one that you've seen that's come in since then. But I'll put this one up now. It's from @JustinFlor, FLOR, says, with Jericho defeating previous ROH champions and Daniel Garcia siding with JAS, I don't know who could dethrone Jericho other than Samoa Joe, but he's occupied with the TV title. Hashtag tweet the table. So yes, Jericho is taking down ROH, right? But who's left? Is it CM Punk? Did they work a deal where they're like, all right, fine, you'll go work in ROH?
So I don't know how long you can have this storyline go, because apparently, from all indications, CM Punk is out until the middle of next year. I don't see Chris Jericho continuing this ROH destruction for that long of a time, right? I would say, you know who it actually should be? Here's an easier layup. Well, no, because he already beat him. I was going to say Bryan Danielson.
Right, yeah, but you could run that back.
No,
it would be easy. You could do it and it would be believable, but it wouldn't be the greatest story. Tyler Black.
Do Seth
saying
Rollins.
He's fucking Tyler Black.
Kevin Steen. Just get Kevin Steen.
Yeah, it's Kevin Steen.
I think, yeah, Samoa Joe. So War Joe, which we can talk about for a quick second. War Joe announced that they're going to beat up the Kingdom or whoever they are, right? Eventually, those two need to fight. I would think out of that, Samoa Joe loses the title to someone being too focused on Wardlow. That is just speculation. That's maybe something I would do. Yeah, Justin, I think you're right. I think it's Samoa Joe. The cool answer is CM Punk, but the realistic answer is most likely Samoa Joe.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're not seeing CM Punk wrestle for either WWE or AEW, which means ROH, ever again.
Well, but he ain't doing that, because that's when they took Colt Cabana to Ring of Honor to get away from AEW.
Yeah.
He ain't going to Ring of Honor with Colt Cabana.
That's what I mean. And ROH is owned by AEW, so I don't think we're seeing that again. Just because of like, well, we don't know when you're going to pop off at the mouth on a live microphone and put us in a PR disaster over nothing.
About nothing. Can we talk about that just for a quick
about
second?
Minor everyday inconveniences.
Well,
People's
I've been
bullshit.
chewing on this for a little bit about CM Punk. Just on one issue that he brought up is things are getting out and it needs to fucking get better, and they know who they are. This is bullshit. Alluding to the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Hangman, that group of people leaking things
Love Fest, yeah,
to the Meltzers and stuff. I would counter that argument if we were in a debate with CM Punk with, bro, are you fucking serious? Look at all of the things that they keep such under wraps. Brody Lee. We didn't hear a fucking peep about Brody Lee or anything. Adam Cole. We're speculating. AEW has said fucking jack shit about Adam Cole's apparent head injury. That's all coming from Dave Meltzer, who's not a fucking doctor. That's just fact, right?
Or journalist.
So I would tell, or journalist, or yeah, because how many retractions has he posted? Mabel was the third guy. I haven't forgot about that. Anyhow.
He did say Mabel was the third guy.
Yeah. And it's fucking Hulk Hogan, you dumb shit.
That's what you need to do in your run back in your little action figure world that's coming soon. You need to get a Mabel action figure. Mabel is the third man. Bring it to life.
I like it.
Meltzer will retweet it. You'll be famous.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
but I would just say to CM Punk, hey, man, like, there's such a track record of good housekeeping with information that you getting so upset about this makes me think it's a you thing, not an AEW thing. I just don't know how he ever comes back from it. He can't come back as a babyface.
Some people still love him for it.
Fucking for what?
People love CM Punk like they love Trump. They love him just because of the name. Like he meant something at some point in their life, or something he said they identify with, and they will ride or die because he said it.
Now, don't get me wrong. I like CM Punk, the character. I've always liked the CM Punk character in the ring, on the mic, cutting promos that are a part of wrestling.
I wouldn't
stories.
say I hate it. I wouldn't say I'm like, oh, I was never like, I got to tune in to see what CM Punk's doing. I mean, the pipe bomb that we've all come to know obviously was major television happening in front of us. But other than that, I've always been like, yeah, he's upper tier. Like if we were rating the Sports Reference, right, I would say he's in, if we're ranking all the quarterbacks in the NFL, he's falling in that 7 to 14 range, right? Like I was like, yeah, fine.
Perfect.
But Phil Brooks, man, by all accounts, seems like an atrocious, obnoxious asshole.
Yes, that's the difference. And again, as someone who said multiple times on this podcast, who fucking cares? We don't work with them. I don't need to know shit about them. I don't need to know shit
I'll never
about
meet the
any
guy.
of these people.
If I meet him, he'll be like, you talk shit
meet
about me on a podcast? Fuck you. I'll be like, yeah, you're right. You're probably right. I would deserve that.
I'm like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, you want me to get
Are you
Kenny
gonna
Omega
fight me?
to
I
take
feel like
your
I got a
dog
good
out?
chance.
Yeah. You want to get Kenny Omega to get your dog again? Because I love Larry. You want to go?
I don't see Ace Steel around, so I feel like I'm all right. I think I'll be safe.
Ace Steel I'd run from. That motherfucker. Credits to
Ace
Young
Steel,
Bucks
by
and
the way.
Kenny Omega for
Friend of the show-ish, through some connections and friendly to the show.
Very friendly.
Respect that guy, and I would not, you know what I mean? If he's like, CM Punk's my guy, well, then like you said, well, fine. Or Phil Brooks is, like we said, granted. And by all accounts, but what I mean by all accounts is from everything I've seen. Again, I don't know the guy personally. Maybe he's misunderstood. I don't fucking know, right? But by everything I've seen, I'm like, man, that guy seems hard to work with.
Well, yeah, and again, I have plenty of friends who have friends that I fucking hate. You know what I mean? That's common in life. Anyhow, I just thought about
I'm sure
that.
you got some friends that hate me. I'm easy to hate. Hey, if I can, yeah.
There's three of them.
Three of them. All right, that makes sense.
What do we got
There'd be
going on
more.
now? So yeah, I just wanted to bring up that real quick about CM Punk because I've been chewing on it for a little bit, and I just
I'm going to be up all night being like, what fucking 3 is that? He said, that's why I said it, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That's why I said it. You dumbass. Yeah, no, anyway, sorry. To interrupt, you're like, I'm one of the 3, you asshole.
Ha!
There's only 3 people that fucking hate you, and I'm both of them. What is that the fucking Lamar said, the fucking LeVar Ball or whatever, when he was like, there's only 2 men, what he said to The Miz on that one time on Raw, where he's like, there's only 2 men better than me, and I'm both of them.
I don't remember that, but I like it.
Said, yeah. Yeah, I remember he took his shirt off, and he's all like going off script. Fucking LeVar Ball.
All right, what do we got?
Yes. So that was AEW. We had our Tweet the Tables. Let's talk about a few of the WWE things. The biggest thing is we got Bray Wyatt to cut a promo. When I say Bray Wyatt, we got Wyndham Rotunda Bray Wyatt out here saying, this is me. I've never talked to you as me. Like, love you guys. Can't imagine all the support, all this, all that. And then he gets cut off by The Mask. And it kind of looks like The Mask from The Mask. Remember the movie The Mask? Kind of looks like that. And that interrupts him and is like, fucking bitch. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, right? But he's like, stop being a pussy. You guys are fucking doomed, basically, right? Cheap paraphrasing there. So what do you think?
So I saw Sam Roberts break this down, and apparently the speech that the demon mask person, whatever that thing is, gave is from a book about like life on all these islands, and each island represents a time. So like at midnight it's the crazy ones, but like 3:00 in the afternoon it's the fine one. And so what he was alluding to is he thinks all of these characters are all these different islands like it is in this book. I can't remember what the book is. Again, I don't fact check, but that's what I heard. Mm-hmm. Earlier you said Road Dogg said that nothing in AEW makes fucking sense, right? Here's example A through Z about fucking WWE storytelling never making fucking sense. So you're trying to tell me, Tim, you're trying to tell me that a man walks out and admits he's breaking character. We have broken through the fourth wall. I am not Bray Wyatt. This is Wyndham Rotunda. Okay, we've had that plenty of times in the past. Samoa Joe, or excuse me, not Samoa Joe, but Roman Reigns announcing that he has cancer and calling himself Joe. All of those things. We've had that. Perfectly fine. But he says, I just want to take time to break down the fourth wall, talk to you for what you did for me throughout this time period when Vince fired me for fucking no reason. But, and he's talking. Okay, I'm okay. We're good. All right. This is weird, but again, no mission statement, no direction. And then you're trying to tell me that he gets cut off by himself?
Yeah. Well,
the fuck is that?
Yeah, because this is where we've talked about. I don't mind suspense in the way of spookiness when person is using mind games, is using trickery, is whatever. But if you're telling me there is an actual other being that exists above Bray Wyatt, but is Father and Son and the Holy Spirit Bray Wyatt, right? Like, I'm starting to get lost. And this was what we've worried about and talked about with Bray Wyatt and his many incarnations is, man, you can get lost. You're very deep, very creative, very well thought out, but you don't do enough explaining the details to everyone else, right? Like, you've got to slow play it more. If we get somewhere that we find out that, like, he Fight Club style didn't realize he made his own recording to interrupt himself, okay, right? But right now, that's the only thing I can fathom or imagine that would connect these two, and that feels like a bit of a stretch.
And again, but then we broke the fourth wall. We said we're not storytelling now. We're not storytelling. The credits ran. Remember that. The episode of SmackDown, the credits ran, and Wyndham Rotunda walked out. So I took that as, this is a shoot, brother, right? This is, okay, hey, you want to take 5 minutes before we get into all the fun stuff to just say how much we meant to you? Fantastic. But for you to break down the fourth wall, say, I'm not Bray Wyatt, I am Wyndham Rotunda. But then we jump back in because then the spooky guy is actually you talking about, it feels a lot like, we don't know everything he knows. Like, you can't tell us a story when you have all the information and don't tell us all the information.
This is what I'm saying. You're not doing a good enough job of explaining what's going on. And I get, sometimes you leave cliffhangers. You don't tell me everything, but you're not telling me anything right now.
That made no sense. The two appearances he's made has made no sense.
Progress no story. Progress nothing about the character. I mean, it shows us there's something new about the character, if you want to call that progressing the character. But I mean, it's only displayed the character, right? If I can say that. It's kind of what we said. We said last week, all you did was present Bray Wyatt. Now all you kind of did was present Bray Wyatt again. Yeah, but yet we made Wyndham Rotunda separate from Bray Wyatt.
But here's my thing. Are we doing therapy every week? Who the fuck cares? There's a difference when Hangman does it and is competing and is having self-doubt and then trying to overcome that to win matches, and Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, spooky death guy, fucking just talking shit. Go after someone. This is a competition of fucking alpha males and females trying to win and be the best of this made-up world we've all come up with. So, like, so next week, if he comes out and, hey guys, don't know what that was, one last thing that I want to tell you, and then he gets cut off again by another spooky fat pig or something, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. You have problems.
I said this last week.
Go to a doctor.
I said this last week. I really don't want a wrestling pig. So help me the fuck,
man. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get that. But I'm just saying, like, go to a therapist, because this isn't wrestling. If it's just you peeing on yourself and then feeling bad for yourself. I don't fucking care. Do something. Like I'm the meme with the stick poking Bray Wyatt saying
that's the whole thing
something.
Well, it's just that, right? Like, all right, we get it. You're really mentally fucked up and should be committed. You have multiple personality disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I give a shit? There are probably hundreds of thousands of people who suffer from this, and I don't think we should be making light of it on wrestling television. So, like, what are you doing? What story are you trying to tell me? What goal are you trying to achieve? Who are you after? What do you want?
Yes, that's it. And again, it's 2 appearances. But my thing is I am positive and patient, right? I'm hoping that it's not therapy session, that we kick it into gear, we go after Sami Zayn.
I hope he's a master of storytelling and he just knows how to, dangle us all along. Someone.
Right. Yep. And that's perfect. So that is my approach to the Bray Wyatt character. Where I'm getting so aggravated is fucking people saying that was the greatest debut in wrestling history, and then his appearance on SmackDown was one of the best in recent memory. The fuck it was. It might
that's
be
because your memory is shit. If that's the case, right? Like But it also might be something cool, like if you tie it back 12 weeks from now. But right now, these 2 standalone appearances that you viewed with your eyeballs are not great. With 2 heartfelt promos. We had an MJF heartfelt promo about William Regal and his tryouts from WWE, and we had Bray Wyatt's thing on SmackDown. And to take a phrase and bastardize it from Ariel Helwani, if you think the Bray Wyatt one was better, I feel like you're lying, right? Like, I can't imagine how you felt that meant anything. Look, he would be a supreme dickhead in life if he didn't appreciate your guys' fucking support. No shit.
Right?
Like, I mean, not to say that, like, of course you say it and that's, it's heartfelt and thank you. Like, we appreciate it back, of course, but like, that feels like a dark promo, right? When Austin would come out and drink with the fucking fans, that's what that felt like.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I think they ran the credits, is because they wanted us to think that was what we were doing.
That's what Triple H
breaking
does.
The fourth
we
wall.
Run the credits, so we go, it's over. Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah. But even with MJF, we got something. He changed his mind when William Regal turned his back to him. So we saw a character progression. And then at the end of the night, he said, I'm not cashing this in on, any random night of Dynamite or Dark or wherever we're at. I'm going to do it the right way. And he shoved it into William Regal's chest, alluding to the fact that he's changed his mind because of what William Regal said. Again, a fucking story. Tell me the story with Bray Wyatt.
I don't know what it is.
And it could be something. Again, it could be something. I'm not saying it couldn't. But what I'm saying is, everyone, stop grasping for straws. We're all making this into something when it's not yet. So stop. His entrance music is pretty fucking cool. Whatever this new entrance song is coming, that's fucking cool. I do.
Yeah. Another thing that we got, Baron Corbin is back on Raw, and JBL introduced him as the new incarnation of the wrestling god, which also gave us, I don't have any other way to work this in, so I'm just going to play it.
Put your little fat chubby redneck hands together.
And I'm going to use that forever in perpetuity on this show. Anytime we introduce somebody, you're going to get this thing right here.
Put your little fat chubby redneck hands together.
I forgot how good JBL is. He told it's the Kevin Patrick or whatever. He was like, I don't know who hired you, but hiring you is like firing 5 good men. Just like, JBL is so great with the insults. You can get overexposed to JBL quickly, but he's back. He's Baron Corbin now again. We've talked about this. I think Baron Corbin is one of the most underrated performers in wrestling today. So I hope we get to see more Baron Corbin. I mean, it feels like it's another, like, what do we do with him? I don't know, get JBL to say he's the next wrestling god. It's like, yeah, all right. I feel like we still haven't found the thing to make Baron Corbin really stick, but I feel like, God, he's so good. He's so good at what he does.
I wouldn't even hate if Baron Corbin. Now I know what we saw at the end of AEW Dynamite, so probably not the best timing of this. But I wouldn't hate if Baron Corbin took the clothesline from hell from JBL to make him more vicious, to make him more of a badass. Now that big boss man slam, that is pretty, in the thing. But like a clothesline from hell, everyone fucking remembers, right? We still know when he got that arm out, like you're fucked. And so it also had a little bit of legitimacy to him, right? It was, he's an asshole, and I'm talking about JBL here. He's an asshole, he's talking all this shit, but like, he actually might kick your ass. And I think Baron Corbin needs that, because right now, Baron Corbin is just, he's big and he's a goof. And so we need a little bit more of a badass. So if that's what he takes from the JBL character, love it. Like you said, though.
Do you think this is just a one-off, or is JBL around for a couple of weeks or so?
That's what I think. I think JBL is around for a couple of weeks, which, like what you said, you can get overexposed on JBL super quick. So let's not make this a thing, because he's the perfect definition of what I think we were trying to say earlier with CM Punk. You like JBL's insults. You like him on the mic. You like some of his matches even, right? I would never want to meet him. Mm-hmm. I would never want to meet JBL.
Definitely not.
That guy seems like a trash person. And I don't, that's what we're trying to say, just to kind of close the loop on.
I like that shit on Oklahoma while I was there, though, too, right? And he said, I genuinely despise this state. And then he's like, and all of you. Just kind of like, it's another thing. That was fun. We asked for, specifically, we talked about how WWE is bad at this as well, and they gave us a little bit of this. We, like, in reference to The Miz and... what's the creepy guy's name again? Dexter Lumis. We were like, why? We're still not getting the why and understanding. They started to maybe sprinkle some of that in. Johnny Gargano tells Miz, hey, man, look, I know what's happening here, and you do too. We know what's up. We know the truth. All you got to do is be honest and come out with it. That's all he wants. And tell him. And Miz is acting like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I don't know what you mean. Knock it off. And he's like, you know what I mean. And you just need to be honest. And Miz is like, oh, whatever. And he just attacks Dexter instead of their match. And he's like, ha, you don't get the contract. And Johnny's like, that was the wrong move, bro. You know what it's going to take. So now we get Johnny Gargano sprinkling in this like, no, there is a backstory. And you need to be honest about it. I kind of like that wrinkle.
I do. And it also gives Johnny Gargano something to do, because him and his wife, I think, are good wrestlers. They are generic number 4 creator wrestlers. They mean nothing to me. So this at least gives them something to do and makes them a little bit more interesting. Kind of like how Nikki Cross was the one who knew all the information about the Aleister Black thing, right? This better be good.
Good reference.
I will say that.
Good reference. Yeah, what could it be? Because they've made this kind of comical. I like that Miz though, has to like overcompensate on talking about how great his balls are. Like, keep that moving forward. That's fun. Right? She had 2 big balls on the stage for his like celebration the other week and all that kind of stuff. Like, making the size of Miz balls a thing like that he's self-conscious about is great.
Yeah, but what could it be? The only thing I could think, honestly, is there's going to be a rift between Maurice and Miz, which would fuck up everything, right? Because
what could it be? Did Miz somehow fuck over Dexter Lumis along the way? Some in the past, again, like it doesn't even have to be real. Like, we can make it up completely. That's the beauty of wrestling.
Oh, of course, yeah, we should always make it up. We should always make it up because
unless a real story can be like with the MJF William Regal thing, where we can use, as any good actor does, if you can use a real life scenario to fuel your emotion, do so. But if we don't have anything, don't force it. Let's make something up.
Yeah, what could it be? Because it has the framework. Well, it has the framework of Tommy Dreamer Raven, right? Where Tommy Dreamer was the all-American guy. Miz, you could easily say probably one state in football or something like that. And then Dexter Lumis has the Raven vibes, a little bit more creepier, but like the outcast and all of that. I mean, we could that could be the framework that we're working with. But man, you got to try swinging for a home run with this. If you're just going to lay it up and say like, there was a time in NXT where he cost Dexter Lumis the U.S. title or whatever the fuck. I'd be like, nah, that ain't for me, brother.
Yep.
That is not for me.
Yeah. Another thing I want to point out, and it's only because I want to point out and give them some credit where it's due. I want to acknowledge that we're doing this in baby steps, which is how we feel everybody should be taking it, right? I don't feel like Raw is suddenly the greatest thing I'm ever watching, but I think there are positive steps they're making. They are giving us the reasons why we should care, or the reasons why somebody are doing things. Mustafa Ali now is he's going to everybody who holds that U.S. title, and he's like, fuck you. We're fighting. Give me a shot. And they're kind of like, yeah, fuck you. And he's like, no, fuck you. And hitting him. And then, oops, somebody else won it. And he's like, God damn it. And I was like, no, fuck you. Right? So I kind of like that. We're getting, clearly, I think this is one of the things people said with Triple H coming back, these kind of guys are going to get spots. And I don't hate that either. I think he's very good at and deserves a shot to try to win us over. There was a time where he was about to get the Kofi push. You know what I mean? And in fact, we think the Kofi push might happen in part due to Mustafa Ali going out.
100%.
So yeah. So I mean, this is good here. I mean, I don't know if there's anything to add on your side of it, but I noticed it, right? We're getting a reason, or we're getting a purpose for a character.
And I like that. But the thing I want to talk about is that one comment you made where Triple H will use these guys, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, there's still only 5 hours of TV time, which is still a ton, but 5 hours of TV time for Raw and SmackDown. So I just want, maybe even clip this and we'll put it on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, right? But I just want everyone to remember when Triple H has to make these cuts, you loved them, right? When Vince made the cuts, now recent cuts is a different story. We're talking 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when people were getting cut and we're like, well, he's a good talent. He should be pushed. There's going to be people that aren't Triple H guys that are going to get released. And you all, IWC is who I'm talking about, are going to be like, oh, how could they not give Chad Gable the spot, And then Chad Gable fucking rocks. But you get what I'm saying? I don't get it.
Well, but there were plenty of people that rocked in certain spots. Yeah. And they were, Bray Wyatt was an inexplicable cut. I think we came out of he was arguing about money or something, right? And that kind of thing. But there are definitely times where, yeah.
I think that was a make good from Vince McMahon trying to make sure WWE had its fucking money from being a dickhead. Again, the biggest shareholder in WWE. Always want to say that because it's true, and you guys are supporting them. But I just want everyone to remember, we love Triple H.
Yeah.
So when he starts making cuts, what the fuck are you going to say then?
Well, and we got the death, seemingly, of the Ezekiel character, and Elias has returned. But we're running back the same thing, right? He's doing a spot. People are interrupting him. Matt Riddle's coming out being pothead Eugene. And... right? I mean, that's what he's being, right? I mean, that's exactly what he's being. And so... look, I think Elias' character has those moments, right? He'll say something that the crowd's going to be like, fuck you. And it's easy segments because he gets to go out there and do a song and kind of make some cheeky, don't get me wrong. It's an easy, let's play the hits with Elias, right?
Literally.
But again, why? I get from the beginning that the Elias character has just tried to make his name as a singing star and you motherfuckers keep interrupting him, right? But when does he really snap? Right? Because now we see, look, I think even if you believe kayfabe is real, whatever, you understood Ezekiel was Elias. So there's something mentally wrong with this guy as well, right?
I got.
Okay, what do you got?
Have something there.
All right.
I don't know, but you maybe that's a good angle to take.
Something's wrong with this guy. So we're going to snap about the people interrupting him, and we get something different. Because I think he's an okay talent. You've mentioned his in-ring work is nothing that you'll even remember.
When the bell rings, that's when you get a hot dog. That fucking guy. I ain't even watching any of his shit. Now, here's the thing that you might run into. So, quick plug, and I've been trying to get you on this beat, but you haven't done it yet. Sunday nights at 7 o'clock in the One True Time Zone, you can be on Spotify Live with Ron Funches and the One Fall Nation. And on the One Fall Nation, I am a contributor. So give it a shot. But what I will say is one of the things that we talked about, and I want to bring up to you as well, is let's say that's the angle we take, which is very interesting, right? When is this motherfucker going to snap? He has this Ezekiel. He is Elias, but what the fuck, right? But if we do that, then we're adding Crazy Spooky, whatever, Elias, Dexter Loomis, Karrion Kross,
Bray Wyatt,
and then the big honcho, Bray Wyatt. So, like, is it Halloween every Monday night? Which, again, Halloween would be a
Judgment Day.
You get what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? They're goth, right?
Yeah.
Like they're light, dark. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, this is kind of the thing where it's like, hey, you have a great idea. This is what I was talking about. The whole first time Triple H took over. Awesome. Great. Love it. Your first stories are going to be awesome. Now what are you going to do when the seasons have changed and now you have to come up with new stories? I'm not saying he can't. I hope he does. I hope Vince doesn't get any money from it. But what next, right? Because we got all these spooky guys all of a sudden. What are you going to do with them, huh? We're going to do a lights on, lights off match where we just fucking turn them on and off and all these personalities appear.
A Bugs on the Ring match. Yeah, we need another Bugs on the Ring match. Nothing beats that. Yeah. I mean, that's all I had from the WWE side of things. We talked about AEW. Was there anything else you need to hit before we...
The only thing I'm actually excited about, and I think they need to continue this trend, Friday night is a live edition of Rampage. Mm-hmm. That makes me want to watch it more. I hate the spoilers and all that. Why you do that? Just stand in front of a movie and just tell me the fucking ending, you douchebags. But when you do it live, it has an element of fun, right? Anything could happen kind of thing. So Friday night, live, AEW Rampage. Very excited about that.
I'm imagining Tom will be live tweeting as it's going on. So join us on Twitter @TableShow. And then join us here next week, Wednesday, maybe Thursday, depending on how the week goes. Just pay attention to our social medias and we'll update you. It'll be Wednesday or Thursday, possibly. Who knows? Whenever we feel like it, because as of now, you're not paying us. So until next time,
you can
join us next time and be our wrestling friends on episode 406 of the Spanish Announce Table.
The Spanish Announce Table.